Facebook page as well as the YouTube, but I want to give people a moment to join the stream. So if you have any questions, I'm able to see them and answer them while we talk about the week ahead. I'm also trying something different today. I have a few people that follow me over on TikTok. So over to the side, I'm also streaming on TikTok. So if you happen to see this stream on TikTok, you can leave questions over there as well. Like I say, going to give it a little more time just for people to join our stream on whatever platform you happen to see this on. We do have a weather impact alert in effect right now, so we will be talking about that as well as what you can expect for the week ahead. So I see the stream up on our Facebook. I have those comments rolling as people start to ask questions, and I have it up on YouTube now as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. The view behind me is a look from the Cantrell Road or Highway 10 interchange in West Little Rock. Lots of sunshine today, but people not really getting to take much advantage of the sunshine because of how cold it is. That cold weather is why we've issued our weather impact alert for today and tomorrow. We've been seeing some very frigid air across the state. If we could take this image full, because I'm actually about to pull up our temperatures. So if we could take max 1 full, please. Thank you. So again, here's that view outside. We got some sunny blue skies out there across the state as far as those temperatures. We see that translation on our visible satellite. Not much cloud cover across the state, but temperatures either close to the freezing mark or below the freezing mark. Some of our neighbors in southwestern Arkansas, the further south and west you are in the state, slightly above freezing, but here in the capital city as well as in Conway and Clinton, sitting right at that freezing mark. Pine Bluff as well. Searcy below freezing, 30 degrees right now. Batesville, Stuttgart in the 20s, and again the northeastern half of the state still maintaining some 20s. Whether or not you're above freezing or below freezing, it's still going to feel very cold out there thanks to the wind speeds. Here are wind chill values. So even for all of those places in the southwestern half of the state that are maybe in the middle or even upper 30s, most of us feel below freezing. I think Texarkana is the exception right now, with a feels like temperature of 35 degrees. But compare that to Little Rock. Feels like temperature is 24 degrees. And if you remember, the actual air temperature is 32. So you can thank those wind speeds for the fact that things feel even colder than it already is. Farther to our east, Stuttgart feels like of 18 right now. Jonesboro, West Memphis with feels like temperatures of 16 degrees. So hopefully everybody has been taking proper precautions to stay warm today, making sure your loved ones are staying warm today. You brought those pets inside. You've been doing what you can to insulate your pipes and leave those faucets on the drip. Things will continue to get colder once we get past sunset and through the overnight hours. I mentioned though that feels like temperatures or wind chill values are significantly cooler than the actual air temperature thanks to some breezy winds we're seeing across the state. So the winds are coming from the north. Further south you are in the state, the winds may be a little gustier because you're in more of the proximity of that pressure gradient. We have an area of high pressure that's north of us right now. I'll show you where it is, but to kind of paint a picture in your mind, high pressure is sitting to our north in Missouri. So the farther you are from where Missouri is, places like El Dorado, Monticello, your winds are a bit breezier. As that high pressure moves south overnight, we're going to see wind speeds drop down across the southern half of the state. But in the capital city, sustained winds around 9 miles an hour. Hot Springs sustained winds around 9 miles an hour, picking up 21 mile an hour wind gusts. Monticello and El Dorado also picking up over 20 mile an hour wind gusts. Overall, just a breezy, cold day. Now here is a visual of what I was just explaining. We have that area of high pressure to our north hanging out in central Missouri. The cold front that is responsible for this Arctic blast, if you will, that's well to our south. If you can see, some of it is draped through Florida, but it's moved through all of those southern United States. So everybody getting a feel of that winter air for today and tomorrow. But that high pressure, like I mentioned, is to our north, and that's helping drive that northerly wind flow. But those white lines you see dashed through some of the states, that's that pressure gradient I was talking about. So over in the southeastern United States, you have an area of low pressure associated with that cold front. But then with the high pressure up in Missouri and in the plains, that tightly bound area in between, that's where you tend to see those breezy winds. So the good news is wind chill values and everything are so much cooler today. That won't necessarily be the case going into tomorrow, because the high pressure will come closer to our neighborhood and help calm the wind speeds down. Let's actually look at that passage and how that translates over the next couple of days. It doesn't look like I have any questions on any of the platforms we're streaming on right now, so I'm keeping an eye on that again if you have any questions. But this is what we're expecting for the rest of this evening and into the start of your work week, with that cool air in place and that high pressure. So the area of high pressure, like I said, over central Missouri, we've got that northerly wind flow across the state through the next couple hours around 6 o'clock. By this time, the sun has already set. The places that did get above freezing are starting to dip below freezing again. We still have a bit of a northeasterly wind with that high pressure hanging out along that Missouri, Illinois, kind of Kentucky area. It starts to make a trip south. So by Monday morning, likely waking up with that high pressure a little bit closer to the state. Temperature is expected to drop off in the teens and lower 20s in the morning with that high pressure in the neighborhood. So wind speeds do calm down, but with no clouds to act as a lid to keep the little bit of heat we have in, that's just going to allow us for us to get even colder overnight. But look at what happens through the day on Monday and into Monday evening. That high pressure starts to move to our southeast now, closer to that Mississippi-Alabama border. So now, instead of winds coming from the northeast, winds are starting to come from the southeast. This does help temperatures warm up a bit. So by Monday afternoon, we'd at least break into the 40s. We'll get above freezing, but it's still going to be what we consider below average for this time of year. Average highs right now are in the lower 50s, likely going to see more of the lower 40s headed into Monday afternoon. Overnight into Tuesday, that high pressure keeps pushing east. So now we're closing in on central Georgia. Winds for us still coming from the southeast. We're starting to see some of those clouds returning across some of the western half of the state, because with those winds now coming from the southeast, we have a little more moisture coming from the Gulf of Mexico. Winds are warmer coming from the south, so we will start to watch cloud cover picking up Tuesday into Wednesday. So showed you what that looks like, how we'll continue to see breezy winds through the rest of today. By the time that high pressure channels in Monday morning, wind speeds calm down. As the high pressure makes its trip east into Tuesday, those winds start to change direction, coming from the north to the south. So here's how that translates with temperatures. As I mentioned, tomorrow morning we start out in the teens and lower 20s. Tuesday will likely start out below freezing again, but with winds at this point coming from the southeast, likely a little bit closer to freezing with upper 20s, lower 30s. Wednesday into the middle part of the week, probably going to be the mildest part of the work week. We start the mornings on Wednesday in the 40s. Thursday starting out in the 50s. Now I'll kind of give you a hint to what's happening Thursday morning. We're going to have some more clouds in place, like as I mentioned with the reverse on Monday, how with no clouds we lose all of our heat. Well, with the clouds in place on Thursday morning, that'll kind of help us keep some of that afternoon heat we accumulated the day before. We'll have another cold front that moves through Thursday, so Friday morning is a little bit cooler, but it does look like we'll at least warm up above freezing, and then we'll start to warm up a few more days through the weekend. Here's how that translates with your afternoon. So I mentioned earlier, for your Monday, likely peaking in the lower 40s, where what's considered normal right now is the low 50s. Well, we'll actually see those near normal temperatures into Tuesday when that southerly wind returns. Wednesday into Thursday, though, we'll see more of the 60s. The problem is with Wednesday and Thursday, it's going to be warmer. It'll feel like a nice break from winter, but we won't get to see the type of sunshine we're starting the week with. Cloud cover is starting to increase. At that point, we'll start to see some opportunities for rain Wednesday into Thursday, again, as our next cold front approaches. I will show you what that looks like here in a second, but that cold front swings through like we saw Friday morning. We're starting out in the upper 30s, likely rebounding to the lower 50s. So kind of what's considered a near normal afternoon. Headed into the weekend, we'll likely see some more 60s on the board, maybe a little bit more sunshine than we're expecting around the middle part of the week, but we'll likely see some very isolated opportunities for rain headed into the weekend. Speaking of rain, here is just an overview of the week ahead and what the rain chances can look like. So with the high pressure in our neighborhood Monday into Tuesday, we're going to stay dry. So at least that's the silver lining with things being as cold as they are. No chance of precipitation or any wintry weather to impact any travel, but headed into Wednesday and Thursday, once temperatures are back on the rise ahead of that next cold front, we will see a little bit of opportunity for rain. Right now it looks like some scattered showers, not anticipating much of a concern of any thunderstorms or severe weather, but it does look like we can get a little bit of rain as that front sweeps through. Friday is drier, and then as I mentioned, a light chance of some stray showers headed into the weekend, but it doesn't look like we'll get as much coverage as what's possible between Wednesday and Thursday. Let's walk through kind of what that next front looks like. The good news is that front isn't going to be as potent as the front we saw yesterday with our temperatures, but we still kind of want to plan ahead through the week of what you can expect. So this is Wednesday morning. This is one of our long range models, so this isn't exactly what conditions are going to look like Wednesday morning, but this gives us an idea of the trends. Likely some cloudy skies across a good chunk of the state, maybe a few rain showers to our southernmost locations. Through the day and afternoon, could possibly see some stray showers across predominantly the southern half of the state. What I want you to pay attention to is off to the western side of your screen. We've got that cold front starting to approach eastern Oklahoma. That's the front that I'm talking about for Wednesday into Thursday. So by Thursday morning, that front knocking on the door of the Arkansas, Missouri, Oklahoma border, likely starting to see some scattered showers across the state. So something to keep in your mind. Thursday morning's commute, you might need to plan a little extra time for that if things do pan out and it's looking rainy like this. Not saying there's a concern for any thunderstorms, but obviously we know on a sunny day, people don't always have the best time driving. So on a rainy day, it's even more exaggerated. So keep that in your mind. Thursday morning's commute might be impacted by a little bit of rain. All right, through the day on Thursday, that front sweeps through the state. By Thursday evening, this is after sunset, that front exiting, moving into southern Mississippi and Louisiana. It looks like some dry air moves in behind it because it takes the rain with it. So likely Thursday morning commute impacted, maybe even school pickup as the showers are moving out of the southeastern half of the state. But it does look like by the time you're headed to bed Thursday and into Friday, things are going to start to dry up. This is the look at those overnight hours as that front continues to push south and east. Maybe a few clouds returning across the northern half of the state. Otherwise, pretty calm out there. Just making sure I'm not missing anything. I do see a few comments on the Facebook, but doesn't look like there's any questions. Again, if you have questions while we're on here, make sure you drop those in the comment section and I can answer those for you. But this is a look at kind of what we're expecting for the second half of the week. This is a rainfall outlook through Friday evening. Does not look like a whole lot of rain is going to be picked up with this. If you can make out the difference in those greens, it looks like the easternmost third of the state could pick up closer to 1/10 of an inch of rain, and central Arkansas getting into the Arkansas River Valley and into southwestern Arkansas, that's really just expecting trace amounts of rain between now and Friday evening. I'm going to take things back because it does look like we have a few more people just joining us on Facebook or on YouTube asking how are things going outside. It's a cold one out there. I can't lie to y'all. The northeastern half of the state still seeing temperatures in the upper 20s and low 30s. Quite a few places you can kind of almost make out that freezing line in the state. And then to our south and west, that's where we're seeing some middle and upper 30s. The Queen and Texarkana are overachieving today, at least getting up to the lower 40s. Now, even though it's pretty cold out there, pretty much everybody's seeing some sunshine. The problem is we've got the sunshine and we've got some breezy winds that have our wind chill values pretty cold. So I'm sure if you've been outside at all today, you have felt this cold air. These are the wind chill values in northern Arkansas. Harrison feeling like 19 degrees. Jonesboro, West Memphis with a feels like temperature of 16 degrees. It feels like 24 in the capital city. I can't confirm. I've been outside. It's very cold. The great news is, as we talked about, we're going to see a warm up through the work week as an area of high pressure kind of moves into our neighborhood tonight into Monday into Tuesday. That high pressure starts to move into the southeastern United States. So even though the clouds will start to return, we at least get some warmer air coming in from our south and east. I showed a lot about what the upcoming week looks like in that cold front. That looks like it could sweep through around Thursday. So we'll round out the week on a bit of a cooler note, but it does look like we have a nice forecast looking ahead to Christmas. I want to bring up, this was issued not too long ago from the Climate Prediction Center. This is the 8 to 14 day outlook. So that period now includes December 22nd through 28th. So basically all of next week, the traveling leading up to Christmas, the traveling after Christmas, what things look like. It does look like most of the country is expecting above average temperatures. Now, whatever is considered average is obviously relative to the state and the city, but here in Arkansas, specifically in central Arkansas and Little Rock, average highs around this period are around that 50 degree mark. Average low is right at the freezing mark, 32. So above average could indicate even as low as the upper 50s or some low 60s. It does look like right now, based off our current 11-day forecast, that will likely translate to some lower 60s. So the good news is things are very cold right now, but your Christmas looks like it could be a bit milder. As far as the rain, that same forecast period is showing below average opportunities for rain in the central and southeastern United States, and then above average opportunities for rain in the western United States, and then up near the Great Lakes region. And then there's some areas wedged in between with near average rainfall outlooks. Now, as far as the rainfall outlook, again, similar to the temperatures, whatever is considered average is relative to your location. This time of year, what's considered average rainfall in central Arkansas, generally less than 0.2 of an inch. So similar to the forecast we're expecting through the next 5 days, I'm going to take us back to that. This is our 5-day outlook that takes us to Friday. Not a whole lot of rain anticipated, trace amounts over the next week. Likely as we head into Christmas week, things aren't looking that much different. We're coming up now on 2:48. So I'm going to come to my closing remarks because I like to take these through 2:50. I see a few hellos. Hello to everybody that has joined since we started talking. If you have any questions before we do kind of wrap things up, let me know. In the meantime, here's what you need to know, what I'm going to leave you with. Our weather impact alert continues now through Monday. So December 14th today and all of December 15th. That's just because we're seeing this cold air in place. Wind chill values in the teens and 20s. Tomorrow morning, we start out the day in the teens and 20s, and it's going to feel like that. So make sure you're monitoring your 3 Ps, people, pets, and pipes. Make sure you're calling your loved ones and make sure they have a warm place to stay. As we've talked about, those outdoor pets, if they have to stay outside, make sure they have an insulated shelter. If you can bring them inside, that's ideal. Hopefully you've already done the work to insulate your pipes and any outdoor faucets. You know, you've covered those up and you've been streaming your faucets in the house. You'll need to do that again overnight. The 4th P that's not listed on here because it's probably not as relevant, but if you're still maintaining any plants, hopefully you brought them inside at this point, and it's another reminder to do so if you're in one of those places that did get above freezing today. Make sure you bundle up as well. If you've been outside, hopefully you've been bundling up today, but I know for Monday morning, people headed to work, the kids are headed to school, especially kids maybe having to go to the bus stop. Make sure they have the coats, the gloves, the scarf, and the big coat. Or I already said coat, excuse me, coat, scarf, gloves, and the hat. That's what I'm missing. And the good news is this only lasts through Monday. So Monday, we start out in the teens and low 20s. We at least get up to the 40s tomorrow, so a little bit warmer. Still sunshine expected for your Monday. Tuesday starts out below freezing, but closer to the freezing mark, so we'll warm up a little more Tuesday afternoon. Actually considered a pretty typical December afternoon. We'll have a mix of clouds and sunshine. Headed into the middle part of the week, we do warm up a little bit more in those 60s. We'll see some low 60s on Wednesday, maybe some upper 60s around the Thursday mark. Thursday we have our next cold front that's moving through that could provide some scattered showers that we talked about. So if you missed the details on what happens with that, make sure you join us tonight at 10. I'll have a full forecast talking about that. But that front sweeps through at Friday's a little bit cooler, more of a typical December afternoon, and then headed into next weekend. Next weekend does look warmer. We look like we'll see some 60s for that last weekend before Christmas. Anybody trying to do any last minute Christmas shopping, a stray shower can't be ruled out, but it does look like it'll be fairly cloudy with temperatures again in those 60s. If you've been keeping up with this stream and you enjoy this is something that we're doing every Sunday at 2:30 now. Whether or not we have a weather impact alert, we just so happen to have one right now, but I did one of these last week and we didn't have a weather impact alert. This is just a way to help you get prepared for the week ahead. So if you can't view any of our newscasts, or if it's a day like today where we're not having a 5:30 newscast because of the things playing on CBS, this helps you still get that relevant weather information to plan your week ahead. So these do stream on THV 11 Plus, and if you don't have the THV 11 Plus app, they're available on all smart TV. So your Roku, your Fire TV, your Apple TV. I think most recently Samsung devices are able to download this. You would just search THV 11 to add the channel. Not only do you get access to these streams, but all of those additional shows that are on our streaming channel, you have access to those. You have access to all of our newscasts. Those stream to the app as well. So definitely a good resource. But this also went to Facebook and YouTube. If those are more your speed, maybe you're on the go and you have your phone in your hand. But multiple ways to get this information. I do hope to see you again next Sunday and on Sundays beyond. In the meantime, stay warm out there, stay safe, and I'll see you tonight.